All right, we are here for episode number 5 of my Boston Red Sox series here on Out of the Park Baseball 21, OOTP 21. And as I seem to do every video, I want to just say thank you again for all of the support. I checked today and the channel went over 100 subscribers, which I know might not be a very big number for some people, but to me it is because I just started this channel 1 week ago. And in 1 week, we have built this channel up to over 100 subscribers, over almost 3,000 views, and we've kind of built a nice little community here, which is really neat to see. I said it, I think in the last episode, it blows my mind that people take the time not only to subscribe to my channel, but to actually click on the video and watch it, even for just 5 to 10 minutes. It will always blow my mind that people take the time to do that for something that I did. So thank you very much. But we are in the same place that we left off in episode number 4. You see Monday, June 15th. And I want to do that just because I want to kind of go over how the team is doing. I made some promotions and demotions for minor league prospects that I felt deserved it. I went all up and down each minor league team, looked at the statistics, and I made, I'd say maybe about 10 or so. I made about 10 or so promotions and demotions, so I will just go in order. I have them all written down here on a post-it note. So we'll start in Pawtucket, and we'll go to the pitching staff. So I called up Brian Mata to be now in the AAA rotation. You see in AA, he made 13 starts, 70 innings, only 4 quality starts, which is not super great, but he is an extreme ground ball pitcher. And you see he was doing pretty well. I'd like the walks per 9 innings to probably be a little lower. That was 3.9 was close to the MLB average a season ago. But he was striking out close to 9 guys per 9 innings as a ground baller, which isn't too bad, holding opponents to a 643 OPS. So I figured it was about time for him to come up to AAA, and we'll see if he kind of gets a little bit more of a challenge, because I think that if he's not in the rotation by the end of this season, he will definitely be in our rotation at the start of 2021. So we'll call him up to AAA, and we'll see how he does. Hopefully he does well, because he is one of our better, obviously, pitching prospects. So hopefully he does pan out. Hopefully he can get that control up to 40. That would be nice, but we'll just have to wait and see. And we also called up a reliever, Denyi Reyes. He is 23 years old. And you see how he did in AA. He had 23 appearances. One of them was a start, believe it or not. Pitched to a 3.86 ERA, a 4.01 FIP. He had an above-average ERA plus. The league average for ERA plus is 100. So 108 means that he was 8% above the league average. 43 strikeouts, 8 walks. I figured it was about time to get a new reliever. Now, he is an extreme fly ball pitcher, and he is a finesse pitcher, which is a little worrisome, but hopefully it doesn't come back to bite him too much. We'll see. I think it was about time to challenge him in AAA as well, so we'll just have to wait and see. And I think, yeah, so I sent down one pitcher. So we'll start with the pitchers first. So I sent down one pitcher, not from AAA, but from AA, and he was right here. Dominic Labruto, 24 years old. I know it's not really ideal for him to be in high A, but I just needed to send somebody down, and he seemed like the right candidate. He struggled at AA in 2019, and he really struggled this season, and FIP of just under 8. He walked more guys than he struck out, and he only struck out 13. He was actually a negative win player, 0.8. He had a negative strikeout to walk ratio, obviously. He was not doing very well at all, so I figured it made sense to send him down. As I said, 24 years old in high A, that's not great. It doesn't seem like he's ever going to be anything worth of value to us. Doesn't seem like he can even be some type of left-handed specialist, unfortunately, but that's how it is in minor league baseball. You're going to have guys that pan out. You're going to have guys that are just there for depth, to eat innings or to take plate appearances. So those were the 3 pitchers that I called up. I called up and sent down a lot more batters, actually. So we will start now in Pawtucket and look at the lineup. So the main guy that I called up was Jeter Downs. Obviously, as I said in episode number 1, the big prospect that the Red Sox got in the deal that sent Mookie Betts to the Dodgers. And you see he had 60 games started. He appeared in 61 in Portland. 270 plate appearances, which is a pretty good enough sample size, an OPS of 851, which is above average, and WRC plus of 140. His strikeout and walk percentages were pretty solid, and he was a 2.7 win player, so it seemed like he was contributing pretty well in the field as well. So at 21 years old, I figured it was time for him to make the jump as well. This is another guy that if he's not in with the Red Sox lineup by the end of 2020, he will definitely be in our lineup in 2021. So it'll be nice and it'll be fun to see what he can do when he reaches the show. I called up two more guys to AAA. The first one was, he is now our DH, Josh Akame. And you'll take a look here. He had 225 plate appearances in 54 games. His batting average was nothing to write home about, but he was getting on base at a 404 clip, which is elite. And that contributed to his 904 OPS. His strikeout percentage, obviously, a little high. You see, he's definitely not a really big contact guy. A lot of power and a good eye, though, at the plate. Not very good defensively, so he'll probably, if he does make it to the show, he'll probably be DH, maybe play first base here or there, but really not that great in the field, as you can see. But he was close to a 2-win player, struck out 65 times and walked 42. And the other player that I called up to AAA was Marcus Wilson, an outfielder, in 52 games, and he started all 52 of those games. He had 220 plate appearances, an OPS of 826. He was a 2.2 win player, struck out a lot, so he's going to have to cut down on those a little bit if he wants to make it to the major leagues. He is 23 years old, so he still has some time. But those were the three batters that I called up to AAA, and they are in the lineup. Downs is batting fourth, Akame is batting third, and then Wilson is batting ninth at the end of the lineup. And then there were two more transactions like this that we made, and one of them was calling up this catcher Connor Wong, who has done very well this year in High A with Salem. You see, he started 46 games and 215 plate appearances. He was on fire, an OPS over 1,000, a 644 slugging percentage, and a 3.7 WAR rating, which is good. He is pretty solid behind the dish. I'd like the catcher ability, ideally, for my catcher to be a little higher than 50. I'm not too sure if he's ever going to be a part of our major league team. I mean, he's only 24, so it could be a possibility. But we will have to see. But he was doing so well in High A that I knew I needed to call him up, and he did accumulate those 215 plate appearances with a WAR close to 4 and just 215 PAs. So it made sense to call him up, and then that meant I had to send a catcher down to High A to take a spot, and that was Steven Scott, who was only at AA for 5 games, and it seemed like he only had pinch hitting duty in those 5 games. He had 5 plate appearances. So it just made sense to send him down. Not very good defensively, which is why I made that transaction. So I just wanted to update you guys on all that. As I said, I went through all of the minor league rosters, the pitching staffs and lineups, and those are the guys that made sense to call up and send down. There is one guy I'm sure that some of you might be wondering about, and that would be Tristan Casas, who is right now at High A. So if we go take a look at their lineup, Salem lineups, and sort by OPS, you can see that he has done very well since coming off of the injured list, I guess a little less than a month ago, because he's been in 23 games, a 947 OPS, but I want to wait a little bit, get him some more playing time, because he only has 103 plate appearances, so I don't want to call him up too early. He's only 20 years old, so being in High A isn't the worst spot for him, but I think that by the end of the season, he will definitely be in AA. I'd say within the next month or so, if he keeps hitting like he's hitting right now, he'll probably find himself in Portland. But that was all I did on the minor league side. On the major league side, I think it would make sense to kind of take a look at how the team is doing, because after I do this, I'm going to simulate up until the All-Star break and maybe start to look at some trades. I think we're going to try to get those done in this video, and then we'll go from there. But you take a look at the batters. Rafael Devers has been our best hitter, definitely, our best regular hitter, I should say. You see, he has played in 71 games. He started 70, and OPS of 877. His triple slash line has been pretty good. He struck out 56 times, and he has walked 21. He is our team leader right now in home runs with 16, and he has 39 RBI. He scored 58 runs. and he's been a 2.4 win player. So he has by far been our best offensive threat this season. We do have Cesar Puello. I know I just butchered that name. He is in the starting lineup right now, unfortunately, because Verdugo is out. And he is doing pretty well. He has an OPS of 875. He's been a nice bench slash utility guy. Maybe not utility. That's probably not the best word, but we've called his number and he's answered the bell so far. So hopefully he can keep that up. I wouldn't be against trading him if the value is right, but because he is 29 years old, but he is a cheap bench player, and those are always good to have around. Good teammate. He's pretty solid in the field, so I'm not gonna necessarily just trade him for nothing. Xander Bogaerts is doing all right. If you take a look, last year his OPS was 939, so this has actually been his worst year since 2017. But there's still time for him to get it together. Still an 816 OPS is it's pretty solid. Still, I can't complain about an above average OPS. 1.6 WAR. I'd like that to be a little higher. On the year, he's had 12 home runs. JD Martinez. He had a very, very cold start to the year, and it seems like he's kind of getting out of that. His OPS is now getting close to 800. Still only 10 home runs, and we're in the middle of June, is a little surprising for JD Martinez. I mean, his calling card obviously is his power, and we take a look. He had 36 home runs in 2019, 43 in 2018, and he only has 10 this year. We're almost halfway through the season, so I'd like to kind of hopefully he can get it together a little bit, especially if our owner expects us to make a playoff run. He does have a player opt out after this season, so fingers crossed. Hopefully he does opt out, because I really would love to use this money for other things for this team. Hopefully I don't have to pay him $19.375 million each in the next 2 seasons, so fingers crossed that he opts out. Jackie Bradley Jr., he's very good defensively, obviously, at the plate. He started off very hot, but he's since cooled off, as was expected. Christian Vasquez, I only have him, really. I mean, he's okay offensively, but I have him mainly for that 75 grade catcher ability and the 70 grade arm. Peraza, he's hitting the ball well. He's getting on base at a decent clip, but not really any extra base hits to speak of. As you see, his 409 slugging percentage and the 750 OPS. Pilar, once again, a guy that's pretty solid defensively, but not a ton to write home about at the plate. And then Moreland has just had a very dreadful season, getting on base at 261, which is awful. So of these guys, I think at the deadline, I'm going to look to trade guys like Peraza, who you see he's in arbitration. His Major League service time is 4 years. He's making $2.8 million this year, so he'd probably be a cheap guy to keep at only 26 years old next year. But I think that this is a guy I could get some value for at the deadline. I think teams would definitely look for a guy like this. Maybe, he doesn't have a lot of power, but he can play the field extremely well. And he's been doing pretty well offensively. So I think that this is definitely a guy I can get some value for. In fact, this is his, looking at statistics, his best offensive season since 2016. So hopefully he can keep it up and we can trade him for something worthwhile. I'm also going to look to trade Jackie Bradley Jr. This is the final year of his contract before he becomes a free agent, and I don't feel like paying him next year. It's going to be tough for our fan support. I'm sure our owners are not going to like it, because you'd be hard-pressed to find a player who has more fan support than Bradley Jr. So it's probably going to be tough to let him go, but it just kind of makes sense at 30 years old. He'll be 31 next year when, during the season. It just really makes sense to kind of at least for me, this is what I'm choosing to do. I think it makes sense to get rid of him now and try to get some type of value, because I'm sure we can get some type of young asset, even if it's a lottery ticket prospect. And I think that'll be better long-term than re-signing JBJ. And I'll also try to trade Pilar, once again, another guy that's a free agent after this season. I feel like a contending team might look at Pilar as a pretty solid bench piece and a veteran presence in the locker room. You see, he's 31 years old. He'll be 32 pretty soon. It just kind of makes sense, as with the other two, to just try to get some type of value for him now instead of just letting him walk for nothing. On the pitching side, obviously, it's not really too much to write home about. Colin McHugh is a guy that he's been our best pitcher for all intents and purposes. He's made 9 starts this season. You see, he has a FIP of 273. He's striking out 28.4% of the batters he faces, while walking only 8.1%. And he's a guy, he's been about a 2-win pitcher. I was thinking about offering an extension to, but I don't feel like paying him $11 to $12 million. And it might seem like I'm operating as a small market team when I said we have so much money, but he's 32 years old right now. He's going to be 33 actually in 4 days, believe it or not. So I can't justify giving a 33-year-old starting pitcher who just came off of an injury this year. I can't justify giving him $11-12 million for the next 3 years. It just doesn't make sense. Even with vesting options or anything you want to put in there, I can't justify that. And I do think that with the way he's performing, it does make sense to trade him now, because you talk about teams wanting maybe batters. Contending teams a lot of times are always looking for that pitcher to put them over the top and give them a chance to win when it matters. So I think that trading McHugh would definitely make sense. Salazar, if we can get something, but he hasn't really pitched a whole heck of a lot this year. You see, he's only pitched 15 innings, and this was the guy, obviously, that we signed at the start of the year for $1.5 million. So if we can get anything for him, it's a win, because we just signed him off the scrap heap right before the season started. So if we can get anything of value for him at 30 years old, he'll be 31 soon. I think that would make sense. If we can do anything for Eduardo, who is making $8.3 million this year, he's having an okay year. 3.52 ERA, a 4.20 FIP. It's actually better than I thought. It's another guy that just makes sense to get something for. He's younger too, which would definitely make a little sense. I think that might be appealing to prospective trade partners, the fact that he's a little younger and he has 1 year of team control left. But I don't know. We'll see. Those are mainly the guys that I'm going to look at to trade. Of course, there are other guys I would love to trade, like Nathan Eovaldi. But it's just, there's not going to be a market for him. He's been awful this year, and nobody's going to want his contract, $17 million for the next 2 years. Maybe we can try to get rid of him in 2021 and maybe eat some of that deal, but it just doesn't make sense to do that at this point. So that's that. I'm going to simulate up ahead until the All-Star break, which if you take a look at the schedule is Monday, June 15th, and the All-Star break starts on the 13th, so we'll simulate up about a month. Your Red Sox 38-35. Take a picture of that. 3 games out in the wild card race. We're probably going to be a lot farther back when we return. All right, guys, we're back. It is Monday, July 13th. As I said, we would simulate up a month, and somehow this Red Sox team, with an awful starting rotation, an inconsistent bullpen, excuse me, is 54-42, and we are currently at the top of the wild card standings. I don't know how this has happened. Not complaining, but we'll see. The offense has really come around. Now we're starting to be a little better offensively. Second in runs scored. Somehow, as I said, I don't really care about batting average, but somehow we're first in batting average, 4th in OBP, 4th in OPS, 5th in batting WAR and WOBA. The pitching is still an issue. The starters have gotten better, in part because of McHugh returning, in part because Eduardo Rodriguez has gone on an absolute tear. He actually won Pitcher of the Month for June, which I'd never expected. We had to put in a claim for Zach Godley, who has been god-awful because, surprise, surprise, Danny Salazar got injured again. So now we can't even trade him even if we wanted to. Benintendi is going to be off the IL in 5 days, and then we'll send him on a rehab assignment. Darwinzon Hernandez got injured. He tore his triceps, so he'll be out for another 2 months. So we signed John Axford, who has pitched in 2 games so far, and he has 3 strikeouts to 1 walk in an inning of work. This is a little surprising. When I'm out, this team just finds a way to pull me back in, and we actually have not lost a series since this Yankees series. Since the last time we talked, we took 1 of 2 from the Braves. We swept the Cubs. We took 2 of 3 from the Angels. Took 2 of 3 from the Cardinals. We took 2 of 3 from the Mariners. We took 2 of 3 from the Pirates, 2 of 3 from the Blue Jays, and 2 of 3 from the Orioles. And now we are here at the All-Star break, 54-52. So first, let's take a look at the All-Star teams. I always like to do this just to see who made it. So we'll see who our representatives are. We have Christian Vasquez. He made the All-Star game. He's coming around offensively. Is that all? It looks, yeah, okay. Well, Christian Vasquez is our only All-Star representative, huh? All right. Well, the rest of the AL All-Star team is Barrios, Savale. I know I probably messed that name up, which I shouldn't have because he was on my fantasy team last year. Fun fact. Garrett Cole, Glasnow, Greinke, Loizaga, Snell, Verlander, Little, Montero, Sandoval, Hendricks, Rogers, your pitchers, and then your batters, Grandal, Sanchez, as I mentioned, Vasquez, Alvarez, Sano, Kevin Biggio, Cesar Hernandez made the All-Star team, all right. DJ LeMahieu, Bregman, Chapman, Moncada, Ramirez, Bichette, Lindor, Torres, Meadows, Springer, Trout, Grichuk, Judge, and Kepler. So maybe a couple of surprises in there, but nothing too outlandish. And then in the NL, you have Bauer, Bueller, Max Fried, Scherzer, Strasburg, Stroman, Syndergaard, Baez, Erlin, Noesi, Diaz, Gallegos, Yates are the pitchers, and then the batters, Barnhart, Contreras, Kelly, Freeman, Murphy. Daniel Murphy made an All-Star team in 2020. All right. Frazier, Keston Hiura, Colton Wong, Arenado, Moustakas, Suarez, Baez, DeYoung, Rosario, Reynolds, Soto, Yelich, Bellinger, Marte, Robles, Acuna Jr., and Conforto. Did the Phillies not have anybody? They did not. That's wow, that's surprising. We'll take a look at if we got any prospects in the prospect game, or in this it's called the All-Star Future game. So we'll take a look here, see if we got anybody. So we got Brian Mata. He was part of it. It seems like he's struggling a little bit in AAA, but I don't know. I mean, he struck out 24 guys and walked 6. I'm not super concerned. Let's see. Did we get anybody else? We got Jeter Downs in there. He's struggling a little bit at AAA through his first 100 at bats. That's all we got there. And then National League, if you want to pause and take a look at who made it, there you go. And yeah, so who won the prospects game? Riley Green. All right, so I guess the American League won. Cool. Okay, well, we are at the All-Star break. Yeah, so we do have this home run challenge, which you can actually play, which is new this year. So if you go into the home run challenge, you can actually play if you wanted to. So it'll load up the bracket, and the guys don't even have to be on your team necessarily. You can just play as whatever, and basically it's like a real old school baseball game. You just click the space bar when the pitch is thrown and see if you can hit a home run. And yeah, so it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that they added that, and I did it once. It's not something that I would do a lot, but it's cool that they have that option in there. I had fun with it. So in case anybody wanted to know, you can do that. But as I said, I do want to start looking at trades. I think this is probably the time, especially now that Salazar got injured. I don't really want to test my luck anymore. This team is doing very well. It really is. I almost don't want to trade Peraza. I'd be interested to know what he'd be looking for. I mean, he'd only want that much money next year to be our second baseman. I mean, he's been solid. I mean, the OPS hasn't been great, but I mean, you think about it, though, at the same time, we do need a spot for Jeter Downs next year. It's just this team is doing so well. I'd like to try to find a way to kind of retool, not necessarily, because I mean, a team like the Red Sox, like, we do have to bring in a lot of young talent, but I'd like to try to find a way to kind of retool on the fly while staying competitive. And, you know, I guess if, you know, losing Peraza and maybe Pilar, I don't think that would really kill the team. And I think, I'm telling you, if we could just get like a captain in here, I think that would really change a lot. I think that would really help if we could get like a captain in here. So maybe that's what we should try to do. Maybe we should take a look at the tradable assets that we do have in Peraza, Bradley Jr., Pilar, McHugh, Eduardo, and Barnes, and see if we can maybe, I don't know, swing a trade and maybe try to stay competitive, maybe try to get some prospects and maybe some guys that can help with the big league team. So This usually takes me a while to do. I am going to try to find trades that make sense. And I will say this: if I don't find any trades that make sense, I'm not going to make them. I'm not just going to make a trade to make a trade. I'm not just going to make a trade to bring in some half-a-star prospect that'll never develop into anything. I'm content. It's not ideal, but I'm content keeping the guys that I do have, especially with the way this team has been playing recently, right? So I'll look to see if we can find some trades that work, and hopefully it can come back with some good news. Okay. Oh, boy. So for some perspective, my recording has been going on for about 2.5 hours, and I think when I started looking for trades, it might have been at 40 minutes. So it took me a while. So I made 3 trades out of the list of players that I said I was going to look to move. I traded 4. Yeah. Right? Yeah, okay, yep, 4. I traded 1 that was not on that list, 1 that was on my Major League team. So overall, I traded 5 players that were on, or 6 players actually, that were on my Major League team. And I think that I made some good trades. Now, I like to say this as a disclaimer. Whenever I do the first trade deadline video, I like to try as much as I can to keep it realistic. But at the same time, this is also a game. So the trades that I make, sometimes there's probably not a great shot that they would happen in real life, but because it's a possibility for me to do it in the game, I'm going to do it. That doesn't mean that I'm going to trade, Martin Perez for Mike Trout, right? But there's certain things that I'm going to do that I'm going to try to keep as realistic as possible, and I'm going to walk you through every trade that I make and tell you my reasoning for it. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there that, sometimes there's going to be trades that maybe don't make a whole lot of sense for one reason or another, but because this is a game, that's why I did it. Of course, as I said, and I'm going to go into this right now, game settings. I have the trading difficulty on hard and heavily favored prospects. So just want to put that out there right now. So with all that said, let's get into the trade logs. As I said, I made 3 trades, and I hope you guys like them and understand them. So let's go to, as you can see, the National League defeated the American League 5-3 in the All-Star game. And you see we signed Hernan Perez and Josh Harrison. I'll get to that in a second. So let's go to the trade log for Major League Baseball. So I guess we'll start at the bottom here and then work our way up to the big trade, because you guys know it wouldn't be a Ryan Waldis OOTP series if we didn't make a big trade at the first trade deadline. So the first trade that we made was with the Diamondbacks. And in this trade, we received John Duplantier and Silvino Bracho in exchange for Michael Chavis, Martin Perez, and Marcus Walden. Now, for this trade, the Diamondbacks right now are 45-50. They're 4th place in their own division. They're kind of falling out of the wild card race. I think they're 7.5 or 8 games out. They needed offense. So, especially in the infield, and Michael Chavis, you could put him at first base, you could put him at second base, you could put him at third base. They need offense everywhere except, I would say, first, and because they have Pavin Smith. But they could definitely use him at second or third base. They could definitely use the help there because the guys they have there right now are not doing very well. And not only can you put Chavis in there right now, you could put him in there for the pretty foreseeable future as a young guy who only has 1 year of Major League service time. He's cost controlled for a while, and for a team like Arizona, that's pretty big. Now, in real life, I like Michael Chavis. I think that he's going to be a very good player. In this game, especially with my current situation, I felt that he was expendable. I felt that we could do just fine without him, and I felt that if we could get good value for him, we could. So when I saw that we could get a package like this, I wanted to jump at it. Now, John Duplantier, obviously he was one of their better pitching prospects. They just put him in the rotation right before the All-Star break. He made 1 start right before the All-Star break. I don't know how that happened. I don't know why they were using him as a long reliever, but regardless, we have put him in our rotation. I'll show you guys everything that I've changed after all this. So I really like what Deplantier can bring. I think that he could be a good mid-rotation kind of guy. Maybe at some point he could become a 2. I don't know, but I like his skill set. I like that he has 5+ pitches. I like that he has a good stuff grade. I like that his pitches have movement. I think the control is fine, and I'm excited to have him on the team. Best of all, he's 26. He just turned 26 literally 4 days ago, and he doesn't even have a full year of Major League service time. So we're going to have him for a while. Now, you take a look at Deplantier, who just turned 26. Chavez is turning 25 in a couple weeks. So to me, it was kind of like I was trading a high upside bat, which I didn't really think I had a use for a high upside arm, which we clearly need. This team definitely needed a lot of pitching at all levels, not only at Major League, but we needed to infuse a lot of pitching into our minor league system. And with these trades, I think I did that. We also got from the Diamondbacks Silvino Bracho. If I'm saying that name wrong, I don't know if it's Bracho. If you know how to say it, let me know. But we got him, and you see he has had a serviceable year. His FIP is better than his ERA. As I said, when I made these trades, I wanted to try to make it so that we could retool and get some youth into the system while also trying to keep this team together and make a push for a playoff spot, because somehow at the All-Star break, this team is in a good position to do that. So that's why I got this guy. I think that, we could definitely use another bullpen arm. You can never have too many bullpen arms, and I think that he will do very well. I think I have him as our setup man, but we will see. So that was the first trade that we made. I was pretty happy with how that went. And you see, we also traded them Martin Perez and Marcus Walden. I traded them Perez to open up a spot in our rotation and give them a guy to put back in their rotation. And I traded Marcus Walden because if you remember, for team chemistry, he was unmotivated. See, he doesn't always, I don't know if that's the best way to say it, doesn't always run out pop-ups. I can't imagine he's batting a lot, but he was unmotivated. And you remember Chavez, he was outspoken. So I traded 2 of them for team chemistry reasons, as not only, but as I said, it plays a not insubstantial role in how your team performs. At least I think it does. I don't know if there's science behind that, but I think it does in this game. I think that the team chemistry does play a role. So to get out an outspoken guy and an unmotivated guy, I think that would help. Now, the second trade that I made was with the Reds. And in this trade, we received Freddie Galvis. Oh, and I should mention, by the way, in the Arizona trade, just because for budget reasons for Arizona, I retained 30% of Perez's contract and 60% of Walden's. It doesn't matter. They're both on 1-year deals, and Walden is going to be an auto-renew, but had to renew a little bit so the trade could go through. Now, the second trade that I made was with the Reds. And I know you guys are looking at that trade above this. Hold on. We'll get to that in a second. So in this trade with the Reds, we acquired Freddie Galvis, Vladimir Gutierrez, and Tony Santillan, and we traded them Jose Peraza and Matt Barnes. Now, the Reds are in win-now mode. They are in first in the NL Central. They had a need for a middle infielder that could hit. They had a need for a big, reliable arm in the bullpen. And I think that I was able to give them this by sending Jose Peraza back to the Reds after he was just with them in 2019 before he came to the Red Sox. And I gave them Matt Barnes, who grades out pretty well as a reliever. You see, this year he has a 4.44 ERA, but a 3.63 FIP. He struck out 84 guys and walked 36. So I think that I gave them a couple nice pieces to be able to make a run if they're in win-now mode. And we get Freddie Galvis, so Peraza is going to replace Freddie Galvis in that lineup, which is a big move. But I got Freddie Galvis not only because I thought that he could kind of replace Peraza for us and do okay. I'm not expecting him to light the world on fire offensively, but you can see he is elite defensively. He is an elite defensive middle infielder. And not only that, he is the captain. He is the captain that I've been searching for all season long. And when I traded for him, I got the little email that said the players are pleased that a captain like Freddie Galvis is now part of the locker room. So that was that. But, I couldn't, in all due fairness, trade Jose Peraza, who's having the year of his life, and Matt Barnes for just Freddie Galvis. I couldn't do that. So I also got two pretty intriguing starting pitching prospects, which I think that we really needed. So the first one, Vladimir Gutierrez. You see that in 18 starts with Louisville this year, the Reds AAA affiliate, he pitched to a 3.33 ERA, and his FIP was pretty similar. 114 strikeouts, just 20 walks. If that movement can increase to a 40 grade movement, I think that we could have a really, really solid pitcher on our hands. My scout thinks he could be mid-rotation. I think if everything goes according to plan, maybe he could be a 2 if everything goes correctly. But still, mid-rotation is very valuable. If you recall, going into this year, this team had nothing resembling a mid-rotation starter. We had Ryan Weber, we had Martin Perez, we still have Nathan Eovaldi. They are not mid-rotation starters. So we got Vladimir Gutierrez, and we got Tony Santillan, two of their better pitching prospects in real life. I know they're both fly ball pitchers, but there wasn't much I could do for that. So Santillan, he's not as intriguing as Gutierrez. I think Santillan's probably more of a back of the rotation arm, but I think that he could also be a solid piece for us. I think he could develop into something good. If nothing else, maybe a reliever. If that changeup never develops, maybe he could be a solid reliever. You see Santillan's 23 years old. Gutierrez is 24, and he'll be turning 25 in about a couple months. So I was happy with this deal. We got some young, controllable starting pitchers, which is huge. It's something that we've needed for a while, and we were able to get them along with a captain for our locker room. Now, the big trade is this one with the Twins, which I was surprised I was able to pull this off, but they were willing to do it. They wanted to do it. So you see that we received Alex Kirilloff, one of the better prospects, not just in the Twin system, but in all of baseball, Lewis Thorpe, and Devin Smeltzer, and in return, we traded them Eduardo Rodriguez, Jackie Bradley Jr., Garrett Benj, Daniel Baxt, and Chad De La Guerra. Now, as I said, I wanted to trade Rodriguez and Bradley Jr. if I could get some type of value for them. And I think it's safe to say that I did. This, I think, was I looked at the Angels to try to get a prospect package too that would have had Jahmai Jones, but I like Kirilloff a little more. He's not as good defensively as Jahmai Jones, but I think he makes up for it with the offense. And I see the Twins, they are red hot, 62-36, leading the AL Central pretty comfortably. They're one of the best teams, not only in the American League, but in baseball. So they're definitely in win now mode. But they needed a pitcher. They needed a pitcher badly. 60% of their starting rotation was not very good. And I thought, you know what, Eduardo Rodriguez having the year of his life, this could be a guy that could take them to over the top and help them in October when they make the playoffs and they need a guy after Berrios, right? So I think that Rodriguez can help them. I think Bradley Jr. can go provide a championship-winning veteran presence. They could be a great defensive guy. He can slide into their lineup at the bottom and give them some power. I think that he, as it said, a player that has more fan support, so the fans are going to love him. It's only a 1-year deal for Bradley Jr., so if they want to bring him back, they can. If they don't want to bring him back, they're not tied up into him. And then we traded 3 lower kind of tier minor league guys that I had no use for at all. Now you see that we retained 100% of Rodriguez and Bradley Jr.'s contracts. That's because the Twins are $14 million over budget. So basically we're giving these 2 guys to them for free. We're paying for these, but of course Rodriguez and Bradley Jr. only 1 year. So it's not really hindrance to us. So in return, we got Devin Smeltzer, who is actually slotted into our rotation. He is at the back of our rotation now. We'll see what he can do. He was pretty serviceable with Minnesota a season ago. In real life, the FIP was a little higher than I'd like it to be. He doesn't strike out a ton of guys, but he doesn't walk a lot of guys either. I don't think he will. You see with the 60 grade control, I know this year, so 2.1 walks per 9 innings. It's pretty solid, a 5.6% walk percentage. If that stuff could grade out at about 50, I think we could have a very reliable back of the rotation starter on our hands. Lewis Thorpe, it says he's a relief pitcher. I need to fix that. I want him to be a starter. So before I forget to do that, let's go to Pawtucket and make sure, where is he? Oh, okay, he's in the rotation. So let's set him as a starter. Cool. So let's go back to the trade log. Thorpe, you see his movement. It's a little rough, but everything else would seem to indicate that he could be a pretty solid starter in this league. You see this year in 18 starts with Rochester, 3.63 ERA, 4.04 FIP, 106 strikeouts, 24 walks, a 20.9% strikeout percentage to walk percentage, and he hasn't allowed a ton of home runs. OPSing opponent batters are OPSing 700. He's been close to a 2-win player. And the big piece, I guess we should have gone to trade log. The big piece in this deal, obviously, Alex Kirilloff. You see, if you go back, the number 24 prospect according to OSA. So if we go to Kirilloff, he seems to have an elite hit tool. Really high contact, good gap power, enough home run power to, I'd say, hit 25 to 30 home runs a year, especially in the AL East. If that eye develops, this is going to be one of our cornerstone players. He's only 22 years old. And, of course, this is it. This is his first time in the majors, so we're going to have him locked up for at least 6 years and hopefully longer than that. Defensively is the one kind of thing where he's not super great. His speed's not great. I'm not too concerned about that. Defensively, he's pretty average, maybe a little below, but I think we can put him in right field and we'll be fine with that. So that was the big trade. We got our owner, John Henry, wanted us to get youth into the system. He wanted us to get this farm system to the top 6. Now, I can't possibly think that we're close to the top 6 right now, but we probably had to get a little bit higher, and we did. So now we're 19th with Kirilloff, Downs, and Mata. So we're not quite top 6. The Marlins are top 6 right now, but 19th from, I forget where it had us before, 24th, I want to say, maybe 23rd. And in real life, this is a 25th to 28th kind of place farm system. So now the fact that we've already moved up to 19th is pretty good. And you can't always just trust this. This is what OSA thinks, obviously, but I'm pretty happy with the moves that we made. You take a look at the lineups. I have Kirilloff playing right field, slotted 5th. So our lineup now, Devers, Verdugo. I don't like 2 lefties at the top of the lineup, but it is what it is. Martinez, Bogarts, Kirilloff, Vasquez, Pilar, Moreland, and Galvis at the bottom. I have Harrison, Perez, Lynn, Lucroy, and Puello as my bench pieces. And pitching-wise, we have Colin McHugh. I decided not to trade him. I could not find a package where it made sense to trade him if I was actually serious about still staying in the playoff race, because the starting rotation as it is already a little questionable. We're counting on Zach Godley and Nathan Eovaldi to hold down the back of our rotation. But McHugh, Deplanier, Smeltzer, Godley, Eovaldi in our rotation. And we did lose Matt Barnes, but we basically replaced him with Bracho. So I think that, it might be a little bit of a downgrade, but I think that we will be okay. So that's that. I'm excited about the moves that we've made. I do think that we will... Oh, and I do want to show you team chemistry. So you see Freddie Galvis is a captain. We have 3 leaders. Pedroia, technically, but whatever. McHugh and Lucroy. And then Josh Harrison signed on as a prankster. I tried to find a spark plug. Could not find one that made sense to bring in. But I think now that we have a captain, now that we've made the moves that we have, I'm excited. I think that we should hopefully be able to stay in the race. We haven't messed with the team too much. I mean, we did trade Jackie Bradley Jr. and Peraza, but I don't think our offense will fall off too much, in part because we did get Kirilloff back, who's going to be very good for our offense, I believe. So I think that our offense will be fine. I think that McHugh should be all right. And then I think that it's all going to hinge on the pitchers that we got. If Duplantier and Smeltzer can be average, I think that this team can be fine and we can make a run for a playoff spot, a wild card spot, because we're not going to win the division. The Yankees are 8 games up. We're not going to catch them. And then if the bullpen kind of holds up its end of the bargain, I think we should be fine. But if Duplantier and Smeltzer struggle and the bullpen kind of breaks down, then that'll be that. But I'm excited about the moves that we've made. I'm happy. I think that we've gotten some much-needed youth into this farm system, which is something that we needed. We said going into the year that it's what we needed to do, and I'm happy. I'm content with the moves that we made at the deadline, and those will be all of them that we will make, because I don't want to make too many trades, and that'll be that. So one other thing I want to say, we did finally promote Tristan Casas to Portland. So if we take a look at the Portland lineup, he is batting third, playing third base. You see that he reached that 210 plate appearance threshold that I like to look for, a 916 OPS, a 157 WRC plus, and he was a 2-win player. So I think it was definitely time to call him up, and hopefully we'll be able to see him in Boston soon. So just imagine a lineup with Tristan Casas, Verdugo, who's unfortunately he seems to be disruptive, but there's not much I can do about that. But imagine Casas, Verdugo, Devers, Kirilloff. That's and Bogarts. I guess you can throw him in there too. That's a pretty nice core to dream about. And then pitching wise, if all these pitching prospects, even if a couple of them pan out, we should be, just imagine Duplantier, Gutierrez, maybe, I say I like to grow the arms, but imagine maybe we sign a nice free agent starting pitcher too. Maybe get a couple bullpen pieces in. This is all coming together. I hope you guys can see it as well as I can. This is all coming together. And I think the Red Sox will be returning to the contenders sooner rather than later. So I want to thank you for watching episode number 5. Episode number 6 coming out sometime this week, so be on the lookout for that. Thank you for watching.